Your soul did not forget the Merkaba. It only folded its memory deep within the hidden chambers of your being, waiting with patience for the moment when you would turn inward and ask with sincerity what it was you had lost and what it was you were meant to remember. In the silence between your breaths, there has always been a whisper, a subtle rhythm that does not belong to the noise of this world, but to the eternal pulse of creation itself. This whisper is the same current that shaped the stars in their spirals and carved the sacred patterns that live within your cells. And though you walk through days filled with distraction and nights wrapped in longing, something in you has always known that the key was not gone, but veiled. The Merkaba is not an invention of the mind, but a remembrance of the soul, a geometry that hums beneath your skin and spins in luminous layers around your essence. It is the chariot of light described in forgotten texts, the bridge between worlds, the vessel of awakening that transcends the weight of time. It is to glimpse the truth of your design, to feel again the symmetry that connects your body to your spirit and your spirit to the greater field of consciousness. It has been called a vehicle, an energy field, a starred trahedron. Yet, none of these names can capture the living presence of what it is. For the Merkaba is less a concept and more a frequency woven through your very being. Why then have you not been told? Why has this truth been scattered in fragments across cultures, whispered in temples, coded in symbols, hidden in myths? Perhaps because a soul that remembers its light cannot be enslaved to fear or bound to illusions. Perhaps because to know the Merkaba is to rise beyond the control of systems built on forgetfulness. Still, the remembrance lives in you, waiting like an ember under the ashes, waiting for your breath to fan it into flame. As you step into this journey, you will not be learning something new, but reawakening what you carried all along. You will begin to feel that the dreams that haunted you, the visions that flickered through your meditations, the strange pull you felt when gazing at patterns of sacred geometry were not accidents, but signals from your deeper self guiding you back to the chariot of light. The Merkaba is not a myth or a metaphor. It is the map your soul drew before you enter time and space, a map leading you home. There are worlds upon worlds, layered like veils around the reality you walk through each day, and though your eyes may see only what the senses allow, there exists a deeper vision that rises from within the heart when the mind grows quiet enough to listen. This vision does not show itself in words or images as you are used to, but in symbols, frequencies, and impressions that move like light through water, shaping the fabric of your awareness. It is here, within this subtler realm, that the Merkaba reveals itself as the chariot of the soul, a luminous vehicle that was never built yet, always present, waiting for your recognition. The ancients spoke of this vehicle with reverence, for they knew that the body was not the true boundary of being, and that the spirit required a bridge to travel across the dimensions of existence. They saw the body as a temple, the mind as a flame, and the Merkaba as the spiral staircase leading upward and inward through the unseen worlds. Some called it a throne of light, others a star-shaped vessel, some a spinning field woven from the geometry of creation itself. Key behind every description was the same truth. The Merkaba was the instrument by which the soul could ascend beyond limitation and rediscover its vastness. To awaken the Merkaba is not to acquire something new, but to remember the architecture of your own essence. It is as though you carried within you a dormant technology, a divine pattern coded into the very fibers of your being. And when it stirs, the whole field of your life shifts into resonance with higher frequencies. The sensation is not dramatic in the way the physical senses expect, but subtle and expansive, like the first breath of dawn touching the earth after a long night. You may feel weightless yet deeply grounded, luminous yet invisible to the world of form. It is not an escape, but an expansion, a return to the fuller reality that has always encircled you. Imagine standing at the threshold of a dream where everything is both familiar and uncharted. The air hums with a quiet power, The ground itself seems alive with vibration, and above you, the stars move in patterns you have seen before, yet cannot name. This is the entryway of the Merkaba, a field of interlocking tetrahedrons that spin in harmony, aligning your body, mind, and spirit into one coherent vibration. In this state, the soul becomes a traveler, capable of moving not only through the layers of consciousness, but through the landscapes of time itself. What once appeared solid and unchangeable becomes fluid, revealing itself as woven from light and intention. The Merkaba is not simply a tool to rise above the world, but also a mirror showing you what you already are. It reflects the truth that your being is multidimensional, that you are not bound to one timeline, one story, or one body of flesh. To ride in this chariot of light is to experience yourself as vast consciousness flowing freely across dimensions like a river that refuses to be confined by the banks of the ordinary mind. And when you realize this freedom, the fear of death, the fear of loss, the fear of limitation dissolves into a softer knowing that life cannot be contained by endings, but only by awakenings. Psychologists might speak of the unconscious mind with its deep store of symbols, dreams, and hidden drives. Mystics might speak of the higher planes where angels, guides, and archetypes dwell. Yet both point to the same reality, that the soul is not limited to waking thought, but extends into realms beyond the linear. The Merkaba is the key that allows the conscious mind to travel these spaces safely, not as fantasy, but as lived experience. It organizes the chaos of the subconscious into a geometry that the spirit can navigate, transforming inner fragments into wholeness. In this way, the Merkaba is as much a tool of healing as it is a vessel of ascension. As you begin to sense this vehicle of light, you may feel the resonance of memory stirring within you. Sense that you have been here before, that you have ridden these spirals in dreams, that you once traveled freely among the stars before your soul descended into this body. Such impressions are not illusions, but echoes of truth reverberating through the corridors of your soul memory. The Merkaba does not invent experience. It recalls it, weaving together the forgotten fragments of who you are and presenting them to you as a luminous tapestry. This remembrance is not given lightly, for with it comes the responsibility of choice. To awaken your Merkaba is to step into the awareness that you are not powerless within creation, but an active participant. Your thoughts, your emotions, your intentions all shape the geometry of your field. If they are scattered, the field dims. If they are aligned, the field expands. Thus, the Merkaba teaches you to live with clarity, balance, and devotion, for only then can it spin fully in harmony with the great currents of the cosmos. When the chariot of light awakens within you, it is as though a doorway opens from your heart outward into infinity. You may sense colors and forms you cannot name, vibrations that seem to sing through your bones, as though the universe itself were a symphony and you are both the instrument and the listener. There is awe in this moment, but also peace, for the soul does not discover something foreign, but something deeply familiar, as though coming home after a long wandering. In this homecoming, the burdens of forgetfulness fall away, and you begin to see that every challenge, every shadow, every longing was guiding you back to this remembrance. The Merkaba is your invitation to ascend, but ascension is not a flight into the sky. It is a movement into deeper awareness, into greater coherence, into union with the higher dimensions of your own being. It is both inward and outward at once, like a spiral that circles back to the center, even as it rises toward the heavens. When you enter this movement, you understand that the unseen realms are not somewhere else, but here, interwoven with your life, waiting for you to step through with the eyes of the soul. The Merkaba is the vehicle for that crossing, and the moment you choose to remember it is the moment the journey begins. Sacred geometry is not merely a study of shapes and patterns, but the very language through which creation speaks. It is the code etched into the fabric of existence, the silent mathematics of the divine blueprint that links the finite body to the infinite spirit. Within its curves and intersections lies the memory of how energy becomes form, and how form becomes the vessel of consciousness. To look upon sacred geometry is not to learn, but to remember, for somewhere in the depths of your soul, you already know these patterns. They live within your cells, they hum in the spirals of your DNA, they echo in the orbits of the stars above. The Merkaba is the crown jewel of this geometry, for it is formed of two interlocking tetrahedrons, spinning in opposite directions. One rises upward, pulling spirit into the heavens. The other descends downward, grounding spirit into matter. Together, they weave a star, a chariot, a field of light that wraps itself around your being and unites the polarities of existence. This structure is not static, but alive, pulsing with the rhythm of your breath, shifting with your awareness, expanding with your intention. When you feel it spin, you are not imagining. You are aligning with the eternal design that holds galaxies in place and at the same time animates the beating of your heart. Every culture that touched the mystery of creation left fragments of this knowledge. In Egypt, the star tetrahedron was whispered in temple walls, in symbols carved into stone, in myths of divine chariots. In Hebrew mysticism, it appeared as the chariot of Ezekiel, a vision of wheels within wheels and fire alive with awareness. In Vedic traditions, it echoed in yantras mandalas in the geometry of the subtle body, where energy centers rise in spirals of light. Though names differed, the essence was the same. The body and spirit are not separate, but two reflections of one truth held together by the geometry of light. When you meditate on the Merkaba, you begin to feel this union stir. The mind grows still, as if it recognizes the symmetry. The body feels a subtle vibration, as though remembering its original design. You may sense triangular currents moving within and around you, weaving a lattice that feels both protective and expansive. This is not imagination in the ordinary sense, but resonance. The awakening of dormant memory that connects you to the greater field of creation. Sacred geometry is not an abstract idea, but a mirror of what you are. And when the mirror is clear, you remember your own reflection. Psychologically, sacred geometry speaks to the archetypal mind. It bypasses words and ideas, entering instead through symbols that carry meaning too vast for language. A circle is not only a line without beginning or end, but a reminder of wholeness, of cycles of eternity. A triangle is not only three lines, but the eternal union of body, mind, and spirit, the trinity that sustains balance in all worlds. When you gaze upon these shapes, your subconscious awakens, stirring ancient codes that lived in you before you could speak. This is why children draw stars and circles instinctively, why dreams reveal spirals and patterns, why visions of sacred shapes appear in states of deep meditation. They are the vocabulary of the soul, and the Merkaba is their complete sentence. Mystically, the Merkaba is a temple of movement, a structure that is not fixed, but alive with frequency. When you imagine it spinning around you, faster and faster, aligned with your breath, you begin to feel how geometry and vibration dance together. The upward and downward tetrahedrons create a field that balances polarity, masculine and feminine, spirit and matter, light and shadow. Within this balance, the spirit is free to ascend without leaving the body, and the body is free to embody spirit without resistance. It is a living proof that you are not trapped between two worlds, but designed to bridge them. Esoteric traditions often taught geometry as a path of initiation. Disciples would meditate on patterns for years until their consciousness aligned with the frequency behind the form. The form was never the goal, but the doorway. When the mind sees the symmetry, it resonates, and when it resonates, it awakens. The Merkaba is the highest doorway for it, contains the whole story of creation, compressed into one shape, the descent of spirit into matter, the rise of matter into spirit, the eternal circulation of life that knows no beginning and no end. In modern times, the symbols of sacred geometry appear everywhere. In art, in architecture, in nature itself, yet few pause to feel the resonance behind the form. A sunflower unfolds its seeds in spirals, a knotless shell grows in golden ratios. The snowflake crystallizes in hexagonal perfection. Each of these whispers the same truth, okay? That the universe builds itself on geometry, and that geometry is the bridge between the seen and the unseen. When you awaken to this, your own body becomes a sacred mandala, your breath a rhythm of creation, your heart the compass guiding your geometry into alignment. To live with the Merkaba awakened is to live with constant remembrance of this connection. Every step becomes part of the cosmic pattern. Every thought becomes a line in the geometry of your life. Every choice becomes a vibration shaping the field of your being. You begin to feel that your body is not merely flesh and bone, but a vessel of light structured with divine precision. You realize that your spirit is not floating apart, but interwoven with your body through invisible mathematics that hums beneath perception. You no longer feel divided, for the sacred geometry shows you that division was always an illusion. The Merkaba is the sacred bridge that unites all things. It reminds you that your body is spirit crystallized and your spirit is body dissolved into light. It shows you that heaven and earth are not distant places, but overlapping fields woven together by the geometry of love. And when you remember this, the boundaries within you soften, the fear of separation dissolves, and you turn to the wholeness that has always carried you. Since the dawn of humanity, there has been a whisper that truth is not written in words alone, but in the shapes that light itself takes when it bends through creation. This whisper traveled across deserts and oceans, carried in symbols carved into stone, etched onto papyrus, sung into chants, and painted upon cave walls. For the ancients knew that form itself was a book, and light itself was a teacher, and that by studying the patterns they saw in the heavens and in the earth, they could remember what the soul already carried within. The Merkaba was one such truth, hidden in plain sight, coded in the geometry of pyramids, in the proportions of temples, in the star maps drawn in the night sky. To the untrained eye, these were monuments or stories or decorative patterns, yet to those who carried the keys, they were maps of ascension, invitations to awaken the chariot of light within. When you walk among the ruins of civilizations long past, you can feel it in the stones, the silent resonance of knowledge that has not died, but waits humming in the structure of what they left behind. They spoke to the future without words, and their language was geometry. Their ink was light. Their message was remembrance. The human mind tends to believe that wisdom advances linearly, that the past was primitive and the present advanced. Yet the ancients remind us that knowledge is not always cumulative. Sometimes it is cyclical, sometimes it is hidden, sometimes it is deliberately veiled until the soul is ready to remember. The great civilizations carried mysteries not because they wished to hoard them, because they knew that power without wisdom becomes corruption, and light without reverence blinds rather than guides. Thus, the Merkaba was guarded, cloaked in allegory, preserved in myth, so that only those with open hearts and disciplined spirits could awaken it. In Egypt, the symbol of the star tetrahedron appeared in sacred teachings of the Ka and Ba, the twin aspects of the soul. The Kia was the vital essence, the subtle double that remained with the body. The Ba was the bird-like spirit that traveled freely between worlds. The union of Ka and Ba formed the whole soul, and in this union, the Merkaba found its meaning, for it was the vehicle that allowed spirit to move between realms, while still anchored in form. In the mysticism of Israel, the prophet Ezekiel spoke of wheels within wheels, filled with fire and awareness, though cloaked in visions. The description mirrored the spinning fields of the Merkaba, a chariot not made by human hands, but by the divine blueprint itself. The yogis of India understood the subtle body as a field of spinning wheels, chakras rising like a column of light. They spoke of Kundalini energy, coiled at the base of the spine, rising in spirals until it bloomed in the crown and carried the spirit into higher states. Though described differently, the essence is the same, for the spinning of energy within the body reflects the spinning of the Merkaba around it, both bridges between matter and spirit, both tools of awakening. The Mayans built temples aligned with the stars, their calendars reflecting the cycles of cosmic time. They encoded numbers and geometry in their glyphs, hinting at a science of soul travel that resonates with the principles of the Merkaba. Tisya is to realize that ancient wisdom was not fragmented, but interconnected. Different cultures in different ages spoke different languages, yet all pointed to the same truth. That light takes form, and form becomes a doorway. And when consciousness learns to walk through that doorway, it discovers its freedom. The Merkaba was never owned by one people. It was a universal inheritance, scattered. It's like seeds across the earth, waiting for you to gather them back into wholeness. Psychologically, this speaks to the collective unconscious described by Carl Jung, a shared field of archetypes, symbols, and memories that transcend individual minds. The sacred chariot appears not just in one story, but in many, because it lives in the deep structures of the psyche. When you dream of flying, of traveling in vehicles, of moving through spirals and tunnels of light, you are touching this archetype. Your soul reminding you of the vehicle it has always carried. The ancients did not create the Merkaba, they remembered it and encoded it, into their symbols so that future generations could awaken it again when the time was ripe. Mystically, to work with hidden wisdom is to peel back the veils of forgetfulness. At first, the patterns may look like decoration, but as you meditate upon them, they begin to stir something deeper. The triangle becomes a flame, the circle, a portal, the star, a map. Your subconscious recognizes before your conscious mind does, and slowly the veil thins. This is how sacred knowledge was hidden in plain sight, not by erasing it, but by cloaking it so that only those who looked with the eyes of the heart could see. The Merkaba invites you to look again at the world around you. The architecture of cathedrals, the placement of stones in circles, the mandalas drawn in sand, the symbols woven into carpets or carved into wood. All these may be echoes of the same wisdom that light and form are not separate, and that geometry is the silent scripture of creation. You walk through a world alive with hidden texts, not written in ink, but in proportion and pattern in each, so waiting for you to pause and remember. As you step deeper into this remembrance, you begin to sense that the universe itself is a temple built upon sacred geometry, and that your soul is both the builder and the traveler within it. You are not apart from this wisdom, you are woven into it. Your heartbeat aligns with the golden ratios, your breath follows the spiral of galaxies, your bones echo the angles of sacred forms. To awaken the Merkaba is to realize that ancient wisdom was never lost, for it lives within. You, as memory, waiting to rise, as light, waiting to be seen, as form, waiting to be embodied. To live as though you were only flesh and bone is to wear a mask too small for the face of your soul. For your being extends far beyond what the senses report. The Merkaba is the key to remembering this truth, for it awakens within you the reality that you are not bound to a single layer of existence, but spread across many dimensions at once. This layer is like a thread in a tapestry of your soul, and when the Merkaba spins alive, it gathers these threads into coherence, allowing you to feel yourself as whole, radiant, and vast. From the moment you entered this life, your awareness has been trained to narrow itself into the physical world. You are taught to trust the tangible, the measurable, the seen. Yet beneath this conditioning, another memory stirs, a memory of dreaming in worlds more vivid than waking, of sensing presences beside you though unseen, of hearing whispers that guide you without words. These are not fantasies, but glimpses of the multidimensional self waiting for your recognition. And the Merkaba is the vehicle that allows you to travel between these layers with awareness and clarity. When the star tetrahedrons spin around you, they do not create something new, but align what already is. They harmonize your physical body with your etheric body, with your astral body, with your causal body, and beyond. Each of these is a sheath of light wrapped around your core essence, each vibrating at its own frequency, each holding memories, experiences, and potentials from other lifetimes, other timelines, other dimensions. Normally, these layers are fragmented like instruments out of tune. Yet, when the Merkaba awakens, they begin to play as one orchestra, the music of your true being resounding through the cosmos. Psychology has touched upon this truth in the language of the subconscious and unconscious mind. It describes layers of awareness where dreams, archetypes, and instincts dwell. But mysticism goes further, reminding you that these layers are not just inner landscapes, but gateways to realms that are as real as the physical. When you travel in the Merkaba, you begin to explore these landscapes consciously. You may find yourself walking through a dream, yet knowing you are awake, you may encounter symbols that reveal messages not only from your mind, but from the collective soul of humanity. You may glimpse past lives or possible futures, all woven into the greater field of your multi-dimensional self. It is said that the Merkaba is a bridge of light connecting heaven and earth, but it is also a bridge connecting the many selves you carry within. The child you once were still lives in a dimension of memory. The elder you'll become already exists in a dimension of potential. The healer, the warrior, the artist, the mystic, all live as frequencies of your being. The Merkaba weaves them into harmony. It shows you that you are not a single line moving forward, but a spiral touching many points at once. You are not just one self, but many selves braided into one consciousness. To feel this is both humbling and empowering. Humbling, because you realize how vast creation is and how much more of yourself there is to know. Empowering, because you sense that you are not trapped in one story, one destiny, one identity. The Merkaba gives you the ability to shift frequency, to move from one layer of self to another. In one moment, you may embody the wisdom of the elder self. In another, the purity of the child's self. In another, the vision of the soul that existed before birth. All of these are you, and all of them are alive within your field. The multidimensional awakening is not about escape, but integration. Many imagine ascension as leaving the earth behind, but the truth is deeper. The Merkaba allows you to carry the higher frequencies into the present moment, into the physical life, into your relationships and choices. It is not about abandoning the body, but embodying spirit more fully. Not about rejecting the world, but seeing the world as layered and luminous. With the Merkaba awakened, your ordinary life becomes extraordinary, not because it changes, but because you see it as part of the greater cosmic design. Esoteric traditions speak of timelines as rivers flowing in parallel, some hidden, some visible. To awaken the multidimensional self is to become aware that you stand at the confluence of many rivers. That every choice, every vibration, every intention aligns you with one current or another. The Merkaba is the vessel that allows you to navigate these waters. When it spins strong, you can shift currents with grace. You can release the pull of timelines built on fear and step into timelines resonant with love, with healing, with freedom. You begin to sense that destiny is not fixed, but fluid, and that you are not a prisoner of fate, but a navigator of light. Mystically, this awakening is like remembering how to fly, not with wings of flesh, but with wings of energy woven from sacred geometry. You rise into higher planes, not to escape the earth, but to bring its truth back with you. In meditation, visions may appear more vivid. You may feel currents of energy weaving around your body. You may encounter guides, ancestors, beings of light who walk beside you in unseen realms. These are not hallucinations, but the unveiling of what has always been there, hidden by the narrow lens of ordinary perception. The Merkaba expands that lens until the unseen becomes seen and the multi-dimensional self becomes lived reality. As this awakening deepens, you feel less fear of death, for you realize that death is only a shift of dimension. You feel less fear of loss, for you realize that nothing truly ends, it only transforms. You feel less fear of limitation, for you realize that what you experience here is only one expression among many. The Merkaba is the remembrance that you are infinite consciousness exploring finite forms and that no form can confine you. In this remembrance, peace arises, not the peace of stillness alone, but the peace of freedom. The multidimensional self is not somewhere else waiting to be found. It is here, woven into your breath, into your heartbeat, into your thoughts. The Merkaba simply aligns the frequencies until you can feel what was hidden, until the light of your higher selves can shine through the density of the physical. And when it does, the ordinary and the divine merge. The human and the eternal embrace. And you remember that you were never only flesh and bone, but a constellation of selves shining together in one vast sky. The Merkaba is not only a shape you imagine, nor merely a light you summon in silence. It is vibration, the language of the universe. The subtle hum that resonates beneath creation. The endless song that the stars have always sung. When you begin to sense it, you realize that your very being is not separate from the cosmic rhythm. You are part of the vast orchestra. Each breath, another note in the eternal composition. Energy is vibration, and vibration is alignment. The Merkaba acts like a tuning fork, drawing your scattered tones into harmony with the universal chord. The same way a musician tunes an instrument until its strings sing clearly. The Merkaba tunes your spirit, your body, and your mind until you vibrate in sync with the cosmos. This is not imagination, it is remembrance. For your soul already knows this sound, this resonance, this frequency. Think of how water responds to sound, rippling into sacred patterns when tones are played. Your energy field is the same. When the Merkaba is awakened, it begins to pulse. It spins like twin counter-rotating wheels of light, above and below, left and right, forward and backward, forming an energetic field that holds you like a womb of sacred symmetry. This movement is not mechanical, it is vibrational. It aligns you to the natural heartbeat of existence. The ancients spoke of this alignment in whispers, for they knew that vibration carries memory. They carved it into stone as spirals, as waves, as patterns repeating across temples and tombs. They encoded it in chants, in hymns, in the cadence of prayer, in the drumming that mimicked the pulse of the earth. They understood that vibration is more than sound. It is the essence of creation itself. When you meditate within your Merkaba, you may feel it begin to hum softly. A vibration deep in your chest or around your crown, perhaps a tingling through your hands. Sometimes a warmth rising in your spine, sometimes a stillness so profound that only the silent vibration remains. These are signs that your energy is realigning, that the sacred vehicle is responding, lifting, harmonizing. In this vibration, there is healing, for misalignment is the root of imbalance. When your energy is scattered, your mind restless, your body heavy, your spirit dim, you are like an instrument out of tune. No matter how beautiful the song, it cannot play clearly until tuned. The Merkaba returns you to clarity. It aligns your frequency with love, with balance, with the cosmic order that was always waiting for you. This is why some traditions guarded the knowledge of vibration so closely. They knew that to control vibration is to influence reality. To keep humanity deaf to its own song was to keep it bound. But the truth cannot be hidden forever. The vibration calls from within. And when you hear it, truly hear it, no silence of deception can keep you from rising. To align with the cosmos through the Merkaba is to step into remembrance of your role in the great dance. You are not a fragment drifting lost. You are a thread woven into the living fabric. Every thought, every breath, every intention becomes part of the cosmic pulse. You learn to move, not against the flow, but with it. Not struggling to command the universe, but surrendering to its rhythm. The more you practice, the more natural this alignment becomes, until walking, speaking, breathing, all feel like extensions of the vibration. You are no longer trying to align. You are alignment itself, living note played by the divine musician, vibrating endlessly in harmony with the stars. And when you live in this state, life transforms, synchronicities unfold with ease. Healing arises without force, intuition sharpens, and even the smallest act glows with significance. Because you are not operating from separation, you are vibrating in unity with the cosmos. The Merkaba is not something you control, it is something you allow, like tuning into a radio station that was always there, waiting for you to adjust the dial. And once you feel it, once you merge with it, you begin to remember that you are not only in the universe is within you, vibrating, singing, resonating as one. To awaken this vibration is to remember your true sound, the music your soul was always meant to play. The sacred hum of creation alive within you, carrying you beyond the illusions of separation, into the infinite embrace of the cosmos, where you belong. The Merkaba was never lost. It was hidden in plain sight, scattered across symbols, carvings, and sacred teachings that only the awakened eyes could see. The ancients understood its power. They knew that whoever could activate this divine vehicle would rise beyond the ordinary confines of human perception, stepping into dimensions where time bends and truth is not filtered by the illusions of the world. To protect such wisdom, they veiled it, not out of cruelty, but out of reverence, for humanity was not yet ready to wield the fullness of such a force in temples and pyramids. In scrolls and oral traditions, the Merkaba was guarded by priests, mystics, and initiates, its patterns etched into architecture, into cosmic alignments, into the very stars. Yet its meaning was disguised, encoded in myths and rituals that spoke of chariots of fire, of wheels within wheels, of light descending and ascending between heaven and earth. The guardians of this knowledge feared what might unfold if it fell into unprepared hands. For the Merkaba is not simply a meditation, it is a portal, a generator of immense energetic resonance, a bridge to higher consciousness that can unravel the illusions of power. Those who ruled through fear and control sought to bury this knowledge, to fragment humanity from its divine inheritance. They replaced the memory of the light vehicle with dogma, placing sacred inner practices with rigid structures and doctrines. Date feared a humanity that could rise beyond manipulation, that could stand in sovereignty. They feared the day when every soul might remember that it was never bound to the earth alone, but was woven into the fabric of stars, galaxies, and divine light. For millennia, the Merkaba was whispered only in the circles of the few, handed down through codes and secrecy. The world at large was told to forget, to dismiss such things as fantasy or forbidden magic. But the spirit never forgets. It waits silently, patiently, for the moment when the veil of forgetfulness begins to lift. When the human heart begins to ache for something more, when the call of truth begins to outshine the chains of fear. The reason it was hidden is the same reason it is re-emerging now. Humanity is reaching a threshold. The cycles are shifting. The energy of earth is vibrating higher, and souls are stirring awake. The guardians who once veiled the wisdom are now guiding seekers back to it. For now, the time has come. The collective heart has matured enough to remember without destruction, to activate without imbalance, to awaken without collapse. The Merkaba was kept secret, not so you would never know, but so that you would long enough to be ready. For a truth revealed too soon can wound, but a truth remembered at the right moment can heal, transform, and liberate. And so you find yourself here, in this moment, with these words, because the memory within you is rising. And the silence that once guarded the secret now whispers softly, telling you what you have always known. To speak of activation is to speak of remembrance, for the Merkaba is not something foreign to you. It is not an outside machine waiting to be assembled. It is already woven into the very strands of your being, resting like a seed in the soil of your soul, waiting only for the warmth of your intention to bloom. The key is not force, but awareness, not striving, but surrender. For the Merkaba responds to the vibration of truth within you. It awakens when you begin to live in alignment with your higher self. When thought and heart and breath begin to move in harmony like a sacred dance unfolding within your chest. The first step is breath, for breath is the bridge between body and spirit, each inhalation drawing in the infinite, each exhalation releasing the illusion of separation. To breathe with awareness is to ignite the silent wheels of light that surround you. The tetrahedrons of the Merkaba begin to spin gently, like remembering how to move after a long sleep. One masculine in nature spinning clockwise, one feminine spinning counterclockwise, together weaving the dynamic field of light that expands beyond your form. The second step is intention, for intention is the fire that gives direction to energy. When you hold the vision of your light body awakening, when you feel yourself already embraced by its radiance, you are not imagining, you are remembering. Your cells already know this language. Your heart already knows this song. Intention crystallizes the subtle into the seen. It shapes the invisible currents of spirit into the geometry of the Merkaba. The third step is love, not the fragile love born of conditions, but the boundless love that is the signature of your true self. For the Merkaba is a vehicle of love. It cannot awaken fully in fear. It does not rise on resentment or control. It only expands in the frequency of compassion, in the knowing that you are both a spark and a flame, both an individual soul and the whole of creation. When love floods your heart, the Merkaba hums with life. Some will tell you that you need rituals complex and guarded, that ancient words must be spoken, that exact forms must be visualized. Yet, beneath all the layers of secrecy, the truth is simple. The Merkaba awakens when you return to innocence, when you choose presence over distraction, when you breathe as if each breath was divine, when you love without boundary. The geometry responds naturally. It was never meant to be withheld, only remembered as your Merkaba activates. The sensation is not always fireworks or visions. Sometimes it is subtle. A stillness that feels larger than the room you are in, a vibration just beyond the edges of your skin, a sense that time has loosened its grip and space has grown more spacious. The mind may try to doubt, but the heart recognizes the shift. With each breath, the field strengthens. With each act of love, it expands. With each moment of surrender, it becomes more luminous. To activate your Merkaba is not to escape life, but to embrace it more fully. For freedom is not leaving the world, but seeing it as it truly is, woven of light, alive with spirit, held in divine intelligence. As your light body turns, you move through life less bound by fear, less imprisoned by the illusions of control. You begin to walk as a soul aware of its wings, a being remembering its infinite nature. This is the path of spiritual freedom, not found in distance, but in depth, not in reaching elsewhere, but in awakening here. The Merkaba is yours, always was, always will be, and when you activate it, you are not becoming something new, but unveiling what was hidden beneath layers of forgetting. You step into the truth of who you are, radiant, multidimensional, eternal. A traveler of light moving freely within creation. When the Merkaba turns within you, it does not only move your spirit into the higher dimensions, but also calls your body into alignment with the frequencies of wholeness. The field of light that surrounds you is not simply a shield or a chariot, but a living medicine, a pulse of geometry and vibration that reorganizes every cell into harmony. As the two interlocking tetrahedrons spin around your body, they create currents of energy that untangle distortions. They release memories of pain carried in your nervous system. They quiet the noise of fear embedded in your tissues. They dissolve the density that accumulates when you forget who you are. Healing through the Merkaba is not the fixing of what is broken, but the remembrance that nothing in you was ever broken, only veiled. It is the clearing of shadows so the original blueprint of your being can shine again. Imagine your DNA as strings of light waiting for the song of the cosmos. When the Merkaba spins, it hums this song back into you. It awakens dormant codes and instructs your body to heal by resonance rather than force. This is why many who activate the Merkaba feel surges of warmth or tingling, waves moving through the spine, visions of color flowing into their inner sight. The body responds because the spirit is singing through it once more. The transformation brought by the Merkaba is not only physical, but deeply emotional and spiritual. The wounds you thought defined you began to release their grip. You discovered that forgiveness is not something you do, but something that arises naturally when your heart is synchronized with the geometry of divine order. Trauma unwinds like knots in a thread. Sorrow softens into wisdom. Fear dissolves into trust. The Merkaba is the womb and the fire it carries. You as you are, while reshaping you into what you are always meant to become. Every healing that comes from the Merkaba is an act of remembering. You are not striving to reach light. You are light. You are not chasing balance. You are balance. When the star tetrahedrons merge and spin, they remind your soul that healing is not granted from outside, but revealed from within. You begin to walk differently, to breathe differently, to perceive differently. Transformation ceases to be an event and becomes your natural state of being. The great secret of the Merkaba is that it does not only heal the one who activates it, it ripples into the world around you. It repatterns the field you carry into every interaction. So your presence alone becomes medicine. Your voice calms, your touch restores, your silence soothes. This is the hidden work of the awakened Merkaba, to heal not by effort, but by resonance, to transform not only yourself, but all who come near your light. There comes a moment on the spiritual path when all the searching, all the longing, all the fragments of wisdom gathered from ancient texts and whispered truths converge into one realization. You were never separate from the divine. You were never lost in the vast expanse of existence. You were only remembering what your soul had always known. The Merkaba is not an external tool waiting to be found. It is the light geometry encoded within your being. It's the living bridge between your body and your infinite essence. When you remember the Merkaba, you remember that you're both the traveler and the chariot, both the question and the answer. You are not a wanderer adrift in cosmic darkness. You are a luminous being carried by light across dimensions unseen. Every sacred spiral of energy that composes the Merkaba is a reflection of your true design, the merging of spirit and matter. It's the harmony of masculine and feminine, the dance of time and eternity meeting at the still point of your heart. This remembering is not intellectual. It is felt in the bones, in the pulse, in the breath. It is the quiet recognition that your soul has always been radiant, always been eternal, that you have carried this light across lifetimes and realms. It is why you resonate when you hear the word, why something within you stirs when you see the star tetrahedron, because it is not foreign to you, it is home. The world may have tried to make you forget, to cover your eyes with illusions of limitation, to bind you with stories of fear. But forgetting was never loss. It was only the veil of the game. For the true gift of the Merkaba is not in its mystery, but in its return. Every time you breathe with intention, every time you align with love, every time you silence the mind and listen to the soul, you are stepping back into it. You are remembering. And so, as the circle completes, you see clearly the Merkaba is not simply geometry, not simply light. It is the remembrance of your own divinity. It is the rediscovery of the truth that cannot be hidden, that you are infinite consciousness in human form, that you are connected to the cosmos through every vibration, and that you were never truly asleep, only dreaming until the moment of awakening. To remember the Merkaba is to remember yourself, the vast, eternal self, beyond name, beyond story, beyond time. It is to embrace the sacred wholeness that was always within you, to step into your light fully, and to live from the truth that you are not just on the journey, you are the journey itself.